Welcome, dear friends, to another journey of imagination and renewal here at TERAFLORA Studio. Close your eyes for a moment and picture the quiet beauty of nature. The way light softens as it falls across leaves. The way simple objects can hold stories if we only pause to notice them. Our channel is devoted to sharing that stillness and wonder with you, through ideas that inspire not only creativity but also a deeper sense of connection with the world around us. In this episode, you will find designs shaped from scraps and memories, transformed into something gentle, purposeful, and alive. Each creation is more than a project. It is a reminder that renewal can begin from the humblest of places. Whether it is a broken bottle glowing softly at dusk, a trail of colors guiding your steps, or a tiny sprout protected beneath recycled glass, all of them whisper the same truth. Beauty is always near, waiting to be uncovered. Before we begin, we want to be clear and transparent. This content has been composed with the help of artificial intelligence. It is carefully curated, but always driven by a human heart that seeks to share, to inspire, and to create harmony between ideas and life. Please take it as guidance, adapt it with your own hands, and let it blend into the unique story of your home and garden. If you find peace and inspiration in these moments with us, we warmly invite you to join our growing family here at TERAFLORA Studio. Subscribe to the channel and let each new story arrive gently in your days. May these ideas accompany you like sunlight through a window, quiet, steady, and full of promise. Together, let us continue to nurture spaces that feel alive, meaningful, and beautifully our own. There is something enchanting about stepping into a garden where the ground beneath your feet tells a story. The Bottle Cap Aurora Path is not just a walkway. It is a celebration of color, creativity, and the quiet triumph of turning fragments into beauty. Imagine gathering all those little caps that would otherwise be tossed away. Green from mineral water, blue from soda, red and gold from festive bottles. Alone, they seem insignificant. But when arranged carefully in sweeping patterns, they sparkle like ribbons of the northern lights captured on the earth. In winter, the caps glow against soft snow, the cool blues and greens echoing the frost around them. Each step feels like you are walking across frozen starlight. Then, as spring approaches, the same path bursts into new life. Sunlight dances on the plastic, highlighting purples and yellows, while tiny shoots of grass peek through the edges. What was once waste becomes a stage for the seasons, reminding us that beauty often hides in the smallest details. The making of such a path is surprisingly simple, though it asks for patience. Begin by collecting caps, lots of them. Clean each one and let their colors inspire the pattern you wish to create. Some gardeners arrange them in spirals, others in waves, and a few brave hearts attempt mosaics of flowers or suns. Digging shallow grooves in the soil or setting them in concrete makes the cap stay secure through winter's frost and spring's rain. The result is both durable and dazzling. One of the most delightful aspects of this project is how it invites community. Children love helping to sort caps by color. Neighbors often contribute their own collections, and together a design slowly takes form. Every bottle cap holds a memory, a birthday toast, a picnic, an evening meal. Laid together, they become a shared artwork that stretches underfoot. The path is more than practical. It is poetic. With each step, you feel the lesson it whispers, that even what seems too small, too common, too broken to matter can become part of something greater. In a world often rushing past, such a walkway encourages us to slow down, notice, and celebrate transformation. And when you pause in early morning light, watching frost melt into tiny streams between those shimmering caps, you realize beauty was never far away, simply needed a new frame. As twilight begins to settle and the garden takes on the hush of evening, a quiet magic awakens. Suspended from branches or beams, bottles once forgotten now glow with gentle fire. The hanging bottle lanterns carry warmth into the night, turning what might have been an empty corner into a place of gathering and wonder. In winter, When days are short and nights stretch endlessly, their glow softens the cold. The flicker of light against frosted glass feels like company, as though each lantern holds a secret flame that refuses to surrender to darkness. Walk beneath them, and the shadows they cast ripple across snow like small constellations, reminding you of summer nights even in the heart of frost. The air may bite, but the lanterns breathe warmth. Then comes spring and the story shifts. The same bottles sway gently among blossoms, their light mingling with petals and new leaves. On a wooden table below, laughter rises again as friends gather, the lanterns swaying softly above like stars closer to earth. They are companions to both solitude and celebration, equally at home during a quiet evening with tea or a festive garden dinner. Creating them is as simple as imagination allows. Begin with bottles of varied colors: emerald, amber, sapphire. Clean them, smooth the edges, and thread sturdy twine or wire around the neck. A candle, a tea light, or even a small LED placed inside transforms the vessel into a jewel of light. For safety in breezy nights, many choose LED lights that mimic a flame, glowing steadily without risk. The effect is the same, a warm radiance spilling outward. What makes these lanterns particularly special is how they hold memory. Each bottle once carried something: a drink shared, a celebration toasted, a moment remembered. When reborn as lanterns, they continue the story, no longer hidden in recycling bins, but shining openly in new purpose. Their beauty is not just in the glow, but in the layers of meaning behind it. Standing beneath them, you cannot help but feel connected to the seasons, to those who once held the bottles, and to the simple truth that light is always waiting to return. In every lantern, there is resilience. In every flicker, a reminder that darkness can be softened. And in every reused fragment, a promise that even what seems emptied can be filled with life again. In the heart of winter, when gardens fall silent and the soil sleeps beneath frost, a structure rises that feels both solemn and full of promise. The branch obelisk trellis is a sculpture shaped from what nature leaves behind: fallen limbs, rough bark, twine weathered by use. Against the pale sky, it stands like a sentinel, a marker that beauty can persist even in bare seasons. At first glance, the obelisk seems simple. Branches lean together, bound at their summit, their bases spread wide for balance. But look closer, and its strength lies not only in form, but in what it represents. In winter, it is a silhouette, stark lines cutting through the stillness, a rustic monument to patience. Snow gathers on its shoulders, catching soft light. Its presence whispers of the life waiting to climb again. When spring arrives, the transformation is almost miraculous. Seeds planted at its base send tendrils upward. Vines weave between the poles, peas and flowers spiral toward the sun. What was once a skeleton becomes clothed in green, alive with blossoms, buzzing with bees. The obelisk shifts from sculpture to living architecture, bridging two seasons in a single story. Where once it stood quiet, now it hums with energy, a framework supporting growth. Making such a trellis requires little more than resourcefulness. Gather branches fallen from pruning or storm winds. Choose those sturdy enough to bear weight yet slender enough to bend gracefully. Secure them together at the top with twine or rope, then plant their bases firmly into the soil. The structure does not demand perfection. In fact, its beauty lies in its irregularity, its honesty. No two obelisks will ever look alike, for each is shaped by the branches you find. This project teaches more than gardening. It is a meditation on cycles, bare in winter, blooming in spring, flourishing by summer. It reminds us that what falls is not always lost. Branches once considered waste become support for new life. Patience is rewarded, transformation inevitable. When you sit nearby, watching tendrils climb upward, you feel the trellis speaking silently. Strength can be humble, beauty can be practical, and every season has its role. The obelisk is more than wood bound by rope. It is hope tied together, standing tall through frost, ready to bloom again. There is a rhythm in weaving knots, a quiet meditation of hands moving patiently, turning cord into cradle. From this rhythm emerges the macrame bottle hanging garden. Bottles once emptied, now wrapped in patterns of rope, suspended in light, transformed into vessels of greenery. It is a design both humble and timeless, carrying whispers of craft traditions and the freshness of living plants. In winter, when days grow short and the view outside is pale with frost, these hanging gardens soften the edges of a room. They catch the weak sunlight streaming through a window, and in the glass, green leaves glow brighter, as though carrying spring's promise ahead of its time. A bottle of emerald or clear glass becomes a stage for ivy trailing downward, or herbs reaching upward, and every knot of rope holds that quiet companionship. The room feels less empty, more alive. When spring arrives, the story expands. The same bottle hangers can sway gently on a veranda or from tree branches, trailing ferns and blossoms instead of herbs. The macrame knots take on movement, shifting with the breeze, casting playful shadows against wood and stone. What once was trash now moves with grace, turning any corner into a sanctuary of texture and growth. Indoors or outdoors, these living sculptures breathe warmth into their space. The making of such a garden is part of its charm. A length of cord, a glass bottle, and patience are all that is needed. Knots are tied in sequence, square, spiral, alternating, until the pattern feels like a woven story. The bottle slips into the net of rope, its weight secure, its shape embraced. Soil and plant inside complete the transformation. There is no need for perfection. Each knot speaks of the hands that tied it, and each design is unique. What makes this project especially inviting is its accessibility. Anyone with a little guidance can learn to tie knots. Children, adults, beginners, each can find joy in creating something both decorative and useful. And every bottle carries a memory of its first purpose, now reimagined as home to new life. Standing near a cluster of these hangers, you feel balance. Fragility held by strength, simplicity enriched by greenery, the ordinary remade into the extraordinary. They are not just planters, they are poetry suspended, reminding us that beauty does not have to be bought. It can be knotted patiently, nurtured daily, and hung where light can find it. At first glance, it looks like nothing more than a tower of bottles, stacked one upon another in a quiet corner of the garden. But step closer, and you'll feel the warmth radiating from within. The bottle compost tower is a living workshop, where scraps once bound for the bin are reborn as soil. Even in the grip of winter, when the earth seems frozen and lifeless, inside this humble tower transformation is already unfolding. Each bottle is cut and joined, forming a vertical chamber filled with layers of kitchen peels, leaves, and soil. The transparent walls reveal a tapestry of textures. Bright orange rinds fading into dark loam, wilted greens pressed beside coffee grounds. As days pass, the pile begins to steam gently, its hidden heat melting small circles of frost at its base. This warmth is not wasted. It is proof of life continuing quietly, proof that even in cold months, nature refuses to stop its cycle. Building one is wonderfully simple. Choose sturdy plastic bottles, cut them so they can slot together like pieces of a puzzle, and fill with alternating layers of organic waste and soil. Add a sprinkle of water now and then, and let air slip in through small punctures for balance. Within weeks, the tower hums with unseen workers. Microbes and worms turning peel into earth, refuse into richness. It is composting at a scale anyone can try, even in the smallest of spaces. By spring, the reward is evident. The soil at the base becomes fertile, dark, and fragrant. Seedlings planted nearby thrive with vigor, their roots drinking the nourishment flowing outward. What was once considered trash now feeds life. It is a lesson in patience and in trust that decay is not an ending, but a beginning. There is also poetry in the tower's presence. Transparent bottles let you witness the transformation day by day, a reminder that change is often messy, layered, and unseen until the moment of renewal. Children, peering into its clear walls, see science alive before them. Adults, tending it, feel connected to a rhythm older than memory. And perhaps most moving of all is the quiet resilience it represents. Against cold winds and still soil, the tower glows softly, carrying spring within its walls. Standing beside it, you realize renewal is not waiting. It is already here, rising, transforming, promising green days ahead. Sometimes beauty is born from what has been broken. The bottle shard mosaic wall begins with fragments. Glass once sharp, discarded, and overlooked. Yet when these pieces are gathered and set into plaster, they bloom again. Against the gray hush of winter, the wall glitters with color, scattering light across frost as though a rainbow had chosen to rest upon stone. In the stillness of cold months, this wall becomes a beacon. Low sunlight strikes the shards, and the garden shimmers as if lit from within. Greens, blues, ambers, and reds glint like hidden jewels, reminding us that even fragments can heal the eye. Each shard carries a past, yet together they tell a new story, one of resilience and transformation. Where others see ruin, the wall sings of promise. When spring comes, the effect deepens. Real flowers climb and weave around the mosaic, blossoms nestling between the glass. Life and light intermingle so that the wall itself feels alive. Glass petals glow beside real ones, turning the structure into a living canvas. Visitors pause not only to admire its artistry but to feel its message, that brokenness does not end beauty, it reshapes it. The making of such a wall requires care but not perfection. Collect bottles of varied hues, break them safely into pieces, and set them into mortar or plaster with patterns inspired by nature. Spirals, leaves, stars, or simply sweeping waves of color. When sunlight pours across the surface, each shard captures and bends it differently, painting the garden with shifting brilliance throughout the day. This project is more than decoration. It becomes a meditation. Laying each shard is like placing a memory, acknowledging both its sharpness and its possibility for renewal. For many, the act of transforming broken glass into art is healing in itself, a tactile reminder that damage can be reimagined. Children often marvel at how the wall glows, tracing patterns with their hands, learning that beauty can come from what was once considered dangerous. Adults find comfort in its persistence, how it holds both fragility and strength. To stand before such a wall in the hush of morning is to feel grounded and uplifted at once. Winter or spring, it carries the same truth, that nothing is wasted if we are willing to see with new eyes. From shards, a garden mural rises. From ruin, renewal shines. On the edge of winter, when frost still clings to the ground and the promise of spring feels just out of reach, there is a quiet refuge built from scraps. The mini bottle-insulated cold frame stands humbly over the soil, its roof an old glass window, its walls stuffed with recycled plastic bottles. From the outside, it may look like a patchwork of leftovers. But inside, life is stirring ahead of the season. Push your hand against the glass on a frosty morning, and you'll feel the warmth trapped within. Seedlings stretch toward pale sunlight, their leaves glowing against the condensation that fogs the pane. Outside, the air bites cold, but inside, the miniature greenhouse whispers of resilience. It proves that new growth doesn't wait for perfect conditions. It only needs a little protection, a shield crafted from imagination. When spring finally arrives, the transformation is ready. Lift the old window lid, and you'll see plants already strong, roots deep, leaves vibrant. While the rest of the garden is only beginning to wake, your seedlings are weeks ahead, eager to be transplanted into open soil. The bottles, once forgotten, have served their purpose, keeping warmth where it was needed most. The construction of such a cold frame is both resourceful and grounding. Begin with an old window or clear lid. Build a simple wooden box to fit beneath, then pack the sidewalls with cut bottles or bottle beads. They act as insulation, holding heat during the day and releasing it at night. It is recycling not only in material, but in spirit, the old sheltering the new, the discarded guarding the fragile. More than a garden trick, this project becomes a meditation on patience and timing. It reminds us that growth is not always visible but often hidden, nurtured quietly until the right moment comes. There's satisfaction in seeing tender shoots thrive while frost still lingers. It feels like you've learned a secret rhythm of nature, one passed down quietly through hands and seasons. And beyond the practical, there is poetry. Bottles once empty now cradle abundance. A cracked window becomes a gateway to new beginnings. To kneel beside this small frame in late winter is to glimpse the future. Green leaves, warm soil, sunlight longer each day. Renewal held in a box of scraps, waiting only for your hand to open it. At the end of a day in the garden, boots heavy with soil and hands chilled from the air, there is comfort in knowing that everything has its place. The bottle rope garden caddy may seem small, but it holds not only gloves and tools. It holds a sense of order born from creativity. Crafted from bottles, rope, and an old crate, it transforms clutter into charm, waste into usefulness. In the cold months of winter, when gloves are needed most, the caddy keeps them dry and waiting by the door. No more searching through piles or leaving them damp and forgotten. Each pair rests securely within rope-woven walls, the texture rough yet welcoming, the form sturdy enough to endure season after season. A simple act of weaving has given the crate new life, turning what once was discarded into a companion for daily routines. As spring arrives, the caddy's role expands. It follows you outdoors, cradling not only gloves but seed packets, twine, even small tools. Placed on a garden bench, it feels less like storage and more like a rustic accent, an object that blends utility with aesthetic. The rope weave softens the square edges of the crate, and the bottles hidden within its frame provide strength. What was once fragile has become foundation. Making such a caddy is a project both practical and satisfying. Gather an old crate or build one from scrap wood. Reinforce its sides by inserting recycled bottles, then weave rope or twine around them until a sturdy pattern emerges. The process requires patience, but not perfection. Each knot, each loop, carries the mark of your own hand. And when finished, the result is unique, no two caddies ever alike. There is a quiet poetry in how it works. Bottles that once held emptiness now hold structure. Rope that once tied packages now ties a household together. A crate that might have gathered dust instead gathers usefulness. It is recycling at its most personal, where design is shaped not only by need but by care. When you reach into the caddy for your gloves on a brisk morning, you feel more than the texture of fabric. You feel continuity. You are reminded that organization itself can be beautiful, that even the smallest objects deserve a place of dignity. In this woven keeper of tools, order and imagination meet, carrying the seasons forward together. Beneath the soil lies a hidden world. Roots, silent and unseen, anchor, search, and nourish. With the transparent root view pots, that mystery is brought to light. What was once a discarded bottle becomes a window into nature's architecture, turning the ordinary act of planting into an experience of wonder. In the quiet months of winter, when the outdoor garden sleeps, these pots bring life indoors. On a windowsill, a row of seedlings stretches upward while their roots weave downward like white rivers. Children press their faces close to the glass, tracing each line, amazed to discover the secret half of a plant's journey. Adults, too, pause in fascination, realizing how extraordinary the familiar becomes when revealed. It is not just soil in a bottle. It is a living diagram, proof of resilience unfolding beneath the surface. By spring, the learning becomes practical. Roots grown strong in these transparent vessels are ready to be transplanted into the open garden. Watching them develop gives gardeners confidence. No guessing if the plant is thriving. Each root tells its own story. Firm, searching, ready to support growth above. The bottle that once held emptiness has become a teacher, reminding us that clarity often lies where we least expect it. Creating these pots is simple. Cut recycled bottles or use clear containers. Fill them with layers of soil, and plant seeds within. Small punctures at the bottom allow water to drain, ensuring health. The clarity of the walls does the rest, transforming what is usually hidden into something visible, beautiful, and instructive. More than a gardening tool, these pots are bridges between people and nature. For children, they spark curiosity and inspire care. For families, they offer projects to share together. Planting beans, recording root growth, marveling at every change. For teachers, they are living lessons in science, ecology, and patience. And there is a quiet poetry here, too. Roots, usually forgotten, become the stars of the scene. The glass holds not only soil but possibility, a reminder that strength often lies in what we do not see. To place these pots on a windowsill is to bring both education and beauty into daily life. Each morning, as sunlight shines through clear walls, the roots glow softly, carrying their silent message. Growth is always happening, even when hidden. Imagine walking through a garden at night where the path glows as if stars have fallen to earth. Each step is lit not by ordinary lamps, but by bottles reborn, lined inside with salt crystals that shimmer like frozen lace. These are the salt crystal bottle path lights, a design where science, craft, and poetry meet in glass. In winter, their glow feels almost magical. Snow gathers around the bases of the bottles, reflecting the gentle light so that each vessel seems to hover above the ground. The crystals inside catch and scatter every flicker, transforming simple LEDs into constellations. The effect is otherworldly yet close at hand, a galaxy rooted in your own backyard. Walking between them, you feel as though the garden itself has decided to keep watch through the night. As spring returns, the bottles take on new character. Flowers rise alongside them, and the crystals sparkle in daylight as well, refracting sunshine into tiny glimmers. At dusk, when lights are switched on again, they mingle with blossoms and greenery, guiding footsteps with warmth. The pathway becomes more than practical. It becomes a story of transformation, a reminder that beauty can emerge from the simplest elements: salt, glass, and imagination. Creating them is a process as fascinating as the final result. Start with clean bottles. Dissolve salt in warm water, let it cool, and then allow the solution to coat the inside walls. Over time, crystals form intricate patterns, climbing like frost across the glass. Place a small LED or candle within, and suddenly the bottle glows with quiet majesty. No two will ever look alike, for each crystal grows in its own way, crafting unique constellations. These lights are more than decoration. They teach patience, showing how time and stillness can build beauty. They spark curiosity, inviting both children and adults to marvel at the science behind crystal growth. And they carry a subtle symbolism. That clarity and brilliance often arise from what seems ordinary or overlooked. To walk a path lit by these bottles is to enter a dialogue with the night. Each glow feels like a whispered reassurance that even in darkness, light waits to return. In every sparkle is a reminder that transformation is always possible, that treasure can emerge from the humblest of things. And as you follow the trail of light, you carry with you not only guidance for your steps, but inspiration for your spirit. Step into the garden, and instead of an ordinary entrance, you find a passage that feels lifted from a storybook. The branch and bottle archway lantern transforms fallen branches and forgotten bottles into a glowing threshold, a place where winter evenings soften and spring celebrations begin. It is not grand or polished, but honest and enchanting, as though nature itself has built a doorway to welcome you. In winter, snow gathers along the arch's shoulders. The rough branches, weathered and bare, cradle lanterns made from recycled bottles. Each bottle holds a flame or small LED, scattering golden light across the frosted ground. The effect is both humble and magical. Passing beneath, you feel sheltered, the air warmer, the night less heavy. It is as if the arch is whispering, "Here, light will always meet you, no matter how cold the season." When spring arrives, the story continues differently. Vines climb the frame, blossoms twine around its curves, and the lanterns sway gently in the breeze. By day, the arch is alive with green, and by night, it glows with firelight. It becomes a place of gathering, a gateway for celebrations, a backdrop for laughter, a reminder that transformation belongs to every season. Building such an arch is as much about intention as materials. Gather branches sturdy enough to support weight, tying them together with rope or twine to form a gentle curve. Pine cones or driftwood can be added for texture. Then hang bottle lanterns along the frame. Green or amber glass bottles catch light with rustic charm, while clear bottles glow softly like captured stars. The design does not demand symmetry. In fact, its beauty lies in irregularity, in the way branches bend and bottles sway. This project is more than decoration. It is an invitation. An invitation to pause before entering the garden, to feel the shift between the everyday and the enchanted. An invitation for neighbors to linger, for children to run beneath laughing, for friends to gather in its glow. Each lantern carries the story of a bottle once emptied, now filled with purpose. Each branch speaks of patience, of seasons endured. Standing beneath the arch at dusk, you sense its deeper meaning, that even the humblest scraps can form a gateway to wonder. It is a reminder that beauty is not found only in what is built new, but also in what is rebuilt with care. Passing through, you carry that truth with you: light, resilience, and welcome woven into wood and glass. On a warm spring morning, the garden hums with wings. Butterflies hover like pieces of living stained glass, searching for a place to rest and drink. At the center of their gathering is not a polished fountain, but a broken bowl given new purpose. The upcycled butterfly puddle dish is proof that even what seems ruined can still hold beauty, still serve life. In winter, the dish rests quietly, perhaps tucked away, its cracks reminding us of fragility. Yet when spring returns, it becomes a jewel. A shallow layer of sand and smooth stones, a touch of fresh water, and suddenly it is alive. Butterflies alight on the rim, their wings catching the sunlight. Bees join, sipping at the edges. Even the smallest insects find shelter in its shallow pool. The broken edge, instead of flaw, becomes perch, a landing strip for delicate visitors. The joy of making such a dish lies in its simplicity. Take a cracked or chipped bowl, one that no longer holds a place at the table. Place it in the garden where flowers bloom. Fill it with sand and a little water. Add a few flat stones for landing. That is all it takes. Within days, your garden will host a gathering of wings. The magic is not only in what you see, but in what you feel. To watch butterflies pause and sip is to witness fragility sustained, beauty replenished. Their presence transforms the space, reminding us that generosity often begins with the smallest gestures. A dish once destined for the bin now nurtures life. Children delight in spotting the visitors, learning that gardens are more than soil and petals. They are ecosystems where every creature has a role. Adults, pausing nearby, feel a sense of peace in the gentle movement, the quiet reminder that giving back does not need grandeur. This dish is also a symbol. It shows that brokenness does not mean uselessness. A crack can become a welcome, a flaw a gift. In transforming a discarded bowl into a sanctuary, you create more than a water source. You create a story of resilience, of renewal, of care for the smallest of lives. And when the air hums softly with wings, shimmering light scattered across the garden, you realize the broken bowl is no longer broken. It is whole again in the service of life. There is a certain poetry in shapes that twist upward, reaching for the sky. The spiral bottle tree sculpture rises from the earth like a helix of light, a structure born of cast-off bottles arranged in a winding form that feels both playful and profound. Against the bare stillness of winter, it stands tall, a skeleton of glass shimmering in frost. In cold months, when leaves have fallen and branches outside are stark, the spiral tree brings resilience into the garden. Each bottle, green, amber, or clear, catches the weak winter sun, refracting it into sparks of color. The spiral shape itself suggests growth, movement, and continuity, even when nature seems paused. At dusk, add a strand of lights and the bottles glow like constellations rooted in soil. To see it in the stillness of snow is to be reminded that beauty does not hibernate. When spring awakens, the sculpture transforms. Vines planted at its base begin to climb, twining through glass and curve, wrapping life around structure. Blossoms spill over, softening sharp lines, turning the skeletal frame into a blooming tower. Where winter offered stark elegance, spring offers abundance. The tree no longer stands alone. It hums with life, carrying flowers, bees, and sunlight. Creating such a sculpture is less about precision than about imagination. A sturdy frame, often metal or thick wire, forms the spiral. Bottles slide over pegs or rods along the curve, their colors chosen to reflect personality. Some keep the design simple with clear glass, while others mix jewel tones for a stained glass effect. The result is always unique, part architecture, part artwork, part garden companion. More than decoration, this spiral tree becomes a marker, a landmark in your garden where guests pause, children circle, and seasons weave their stories. In winter, it is clarity and resilience. In spring, it is renewal and bloom. In summer, it becomes a festival of green. And through it all, the bottles that once held nothing now hold memory and meaning. Standing beside it, you feel the spiral's message. That growth is not straight, not perfect, but winding, persistent, and beautiful in its imperfection. What was once discarded glass now rises proudly, capturing both sunlight and imagination. A sculpture, a trellis, a beacon, a tree that never stops reaching upward. On a frosty winter morning, the kitchen window becomes more than a view. With a few scraps of wood and old cans reborn as planters, the window herb rail from scrap turns glass and frost into a stage for greenery. Against the pale light outside, basil, rosemary, and mint glow with life, their fragrance mingling with the warmth of cooking. It is a small reminder that even in the quietest season, flavor and freshness endure. The beauty of this project lies in its simplicity. A scrap of wood becomes a rail, a forgotten tin can become a pot. Together they form a rustic garden indoors, where herbs lean eagerly toward the sun. Each leaf carries resilience, thriving despite the cold beyond the glass. The rail softens the window's edge, turning an ordinary sill into a story of resourcefulness and care. When spring returns, the rhythm shifts. Herbs that began their lives indoors are strong enough to be transplanted outdoors. Their roots already firm, their leaves vibrant. The rail remains ready to host new seedlings, to continue the cycle of planting and growth. In this way, the project becomes more than a temporary decoration. It becomes a practice, a rhythm woven into daily life. Building a window herb rail requires little. A sturdy piece of wood, a few nails or hooks, and cans cleaned and prepared. Holes punched in the base of each can allow drainage, ensuring health. Some choose to paint the cans in cheerful colors, others leave them rustic and raw. Either way, the effect is charming. The result is not only practical, a supply of fresh herbs within reach, but also aesthetic, a rustic accent glowing with green. There is also a quiet intimacy in the act of tending herbs here. Each morning, you brush your hand across leaves, releasing their scent into the room. You clip a sprig of rosemary for the stew, or a handful of basil for bread. The kitchen fills not only with aroma, but with a sense of abundance. The window herb rail teaches that gardens need not wait for warm weather or wide spaces. They can thrive in the smallest corners, built from the simplest scraps. Standing at the window, snow outside and herbs alive within, you realize the seasons may change, but nourishment is always possible. All it takes is a bit of light, a bit of care, and the willingness to see treasure in what was once considered waste. The air may still carry the bite of winter, but beneath a curved dome of plastic, a seedling breathes safely. The bottle cloches for seedling protection are tiny guardians, made from nothing more than recycled bottles cut and placed gently over fragile sprouts. Simple yet ingenious, they prove that protection need not be expensive, only thoughtful. In the heart of cold months, when frost lingers on soil and winds sweep across the garden, these makeshift cloches create a sanctuary. The curved walls capture warmth like a cupped hand around a candle flame. Inside, moisture gathers in droplets, glinting softly in the morning light. The sprout beneath glows green against a world of white, carrying life forward despite the season's harshness. To pass by a bed lined with these little domes is to see resilience made visible. When spring stirs awake, the story continues. The bottles can be lifted, their task complete. The seedlings, now strong enough to face open air, stretch upward eagerly. The cloches return to the shed, ready for another year, their cycle as steady as the seasons. What was once waste has become a tool of continuity, bridging winter's cold to spring's renewal. Making them is as accessible as it gets. Take a plastic bottle, cut off the base, and place it over a seedling. The cap serves as a vent, unscrewed slightly to let air circulate, tightened to keep warmth inside. In a row, they stand like a quiet army, transparent and unassuming, yet vital. Children delight in lifting them gently to peek at the green hearts inside. Adults appreciate their simplicity. No cost, no complexity, just care shaped into form. These cloches carry more than practicality. They carry symbolism. In their small domes, we see a lesson in stewardship, that even the weakest plant deserves protection, that growth is nurtured not only by sunlight and soil but by the shelter we provide. And we learn too that fragility is not weakness but a stage on the path to strength. Standing in the garden, watching frost bead on bottle shoulders while seedlings remain safe within, you feel both humbled and encouraged. The cloches remind us that care does not have to be grand to be profound. Sometimes it is found in the smallest gestures, in the recycling of a bottle, in the shielding of a sprout, in the quiet promise that tomorrow will bloom. As we come to the end of today's journey, take a deep breath and let the quiet images linger. Every bottle, every fragment, every tender sprout we have explored carries its own small story of transformation. What once was overlooked now glows with new life, and what seemed too fragile has found strength again. This is the gentle reminder we cherish at TERAFLORA Studio, that beauty does not demand perfection. It simply asks us to look with patience and care. Perhaps you imagine these projects taking shape in your own garden or home. Perhaps you pictured the glow of lanterns on a winter evening, or the softness of herbs brushing your fingertips as sunlight pours through a window. However these visions arrive to you, let them settle warmly, as seeds of possibility waiting to be nurtured. These are not just designs, but invitations. To slow down, to create, and to rediscover how the simplest things can bring peace to your days. And remember, each of these ideas has been carefully crafted with the support of artificial intelligence. The words, the flow, and the inspiration are guided by technology, but always grounded in a human wish to share something calm and meaningful with you. If today's time together has brought you inspiration or even a quiet smile, we gently invite you to stay close. Subscribe to TERAFLORA Studio and let each new story arrive softly, like morning light finding its way into your space. With every episode, we hope to bring you not only creative ideas, but also a moment of stillness, a reminder that life's beauty is often found in the smallest details. Until we meet again, may your days be gentle, your hands inspired, and your spaces filled with warmth. From all of us at TERAFLORA Studio, thank you for being here,